Hi!
Welcome back to Girl Historic.
I'm Carley.
I'm Blair.
And welcome to day 3 of the 12 Days of Icons.
On the third day of Icons, my
True love
gave to me.
Jack the Ripper.
Wow. You're 2 for 2 with murderers.
Well, OJ was acquitted.
Okay. And he did not do it.
Yeah, whereas the glove heavily fit for Mr. Jack the
Yeah.
Ripper. Yeah. I have ones that aren't murderers, but the other one that I had prepared for today was kind of similar vein to the last episode we did. So I wanted to give some variety.
Yeah.
And when I say it, you'll be like, oh, okay.
Okay, I love it.
So today we're doing Jack the Ripper, obviously.
Ripper.
So all that's to say, let's just do a trigger warning. Like, it's
Murder.
graphic. It's
Yeah.
graphic. Like, I didn't really discuss murder specifics.
Yeah, trigger warning, graphic murders.
Yes.
Awesome.
Just gotta say it out. Like, I do have to describe it a little bit because that's part of the murder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, he is Jack the Ripper.
he's ripping.
So you've got to get ripped somewhere in there.
There's gonna be rips.
There's going to be ripping.
Okay, so I did this because I was watching a video about like the representation of Jack the Ripper in media, and I found it very interesting, and I want to have a conversation about it. Because I also didn't I knew about him kind of in theory, but I didn't know the specifics, and I thought it was very interesting. So he's a famous serial killer who targeted sex workers, like I would say predominantly sex workers, but like of the basically canon confirmed killings of Jack the Ripper, all sex workers in Victorian London. Okay. There are thought to be 5 canon victims, and they span 5 months.
Yeah.
There's others afterwards that some argue whether or not they are like on the tail end, like his killings or copycats. But there
Okay.
are 5 that we have basically confirmed are his killings. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because otherwise it's just me telling you 25 different ways that sex workers got slain.
Woohoo!
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
And the case is famous because it was never solved. He sent little scary letters like the Zodiac as well, which always makes you famous to send little
my
scary
God.
letters to like the Post and whatever.
Okay. hate
And
that.
also the gruesome nature of the killings.
Oh, no.
Okay. So, common elements of these murders were the victims were sex workers. I have to change the way that the internet plays fast and loose with the term prostitute.
Oh, yeah.
Wild. So if I
Yeah.
misspeak, I mean sex worker. I was listening to a podcast the other day and they used the term whore, and not in like a way of like they're sex workers and they're talking about it, just somebody being like, she was a whore. And I
she
was
was
like,
a
girl,
whore.
we're not using that term anymore.
I know.
In the Whitechapel area was a neighborhood known for overpopulation and a high volume of sex workers. It was just kind of like more of a
this in
dingy
London?
neighborhood. Yes.
Okay.
The
A
attacks,
slum.
A slum.
A slum.
The attacks occurred in the early hours of the morning. Throat slash was consistent with all the victims, and there was it progressively increased in terms of mutilation from victim to victim and got more and more gruesome. And there was a short time between the killing and discovering the bodies.
So would you say it was a wave of mutilation?
What's that?
Song by the Pixies?
I don't know that song. I'm sorry.
Whatever.
Okay, we're fighting. August 31st. August 31st.
August 31st. Jack the Ripper.
August 31st.
August
Jack
31st.
the Ripper slayed his first victim. Mary Ann Nichols, the first of the canonical 5 victims, is found murdered in Bucks Row, Whitechapel.
All right.
Okay? This is now Dunward Street. I don't know if people in London identify with that in some way.
It would be crazy to be like, hey, come to my party. I live on Bucks Row.
Yeah, but you know where the first of this canonical slain
Of Jack the Ripper.
That's where it is, just down the block.
Above the
There's a plaque.
store there, yeah.
There's a plaque. Her throat was deeply severed in 2 locations.
Oh no.
I know. This is the most chill, so strap in.
Woohoo!
And her lower abdomen, I mean, this is gross, and I'm sorry, we're not a true crime podcast, but like this is the only thing to talk about with Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Was partially ripped open with deep, jagged wounds, and there was other incisions. Now, people thought that Jack the Ripper was probably a doctor because of the surgical nature of his killings, and also like the fact that like it gets more surgical and things like that, if that makes sense. And it's like,
no.
if you're untrained, you're not gonna be able to remove things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll also get into later. There's a lot of theories as we go along where people are trying to figure out why he was killing sex workers, and it's so wild to me. Like it's really like like I'm like open your eyes. Like there's no, it's not because he's spurned by a sex worker. It's because
Look
men
around.
do not value them.
Yeah, they disenfranchise them.
Like this. Why is that?
Yeah.
Hard
That's so
like,
crazy
it's
to
not
believe.
because his mom was a sex worker. Like if you watch like movies about Jack the Ripper, it's always like his mom was a sex worker, or a sex worker gave his son syphilis.
No, it's
or
like he was a
in love with-
bad person.
No, he was a misogynist.
Yes, he hated women.
Yes.
I know. I hate whenever it's just like, well, a woman wronged a man, and that's why he killed.
No,
It's like, no, he hated women.
I'm sorry. Am I trying to? Do I have to explain to you that why sex workers get murdered?
Yeah,
Like
you can't murder people ever.
no,
Period. You just can't.
that's just not allowed, Jack.
No, you can't do it.
Okay. So that was August 31st. September 8th, Annie Chapman, the second victim, is discovered.
Okay.
She's discovered in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Her throat is cut again, and her abdomen is entirely open this time.
Oh, God.
With her intestines removed
Oh.
and
all right.
placed over her shoulder.
Okay.
Disgusting.
All right.
And her uterus is removed and parts of her vagina are removed. Sorry, guys. So I don't know if I need to tell you this. This murder is considerably more gruesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought this would be a fun fucking topic. That's on me. Like, I wish, in my brain, I kind of more imagined just like being like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And then I had to like Google it, and I was like, okay. Because like he was never caught, so it's not like we can talk about like the story.
No.
Just
It's
the crimes.
Just like sort of what happened.
Yeah. So September 27th, the Dear Boss letter using the name Jack the Ripper is received at the Central News Agency.
Okay.
He's sending a letter basically being like, there's like a famous kind of quote, but it's him just being like, your lives will be mine. You better be safe, blah, 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 blah.
All right.
He is kind of like a blueprint in many ways for like the modern serial killer. Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's crazy, too, that he just like sent a letter and they were like, oh, damn it. Nothing we can do about this.
I know. Well, that's what the Zodiac did. The Zodiac
Yeah.
was like, crack my code. And they're like, we can't.
It's like, what?
We don't know what it means.
You guys, come on.
My favorite fact about the Zodiac killer is that there was a time when the police were actually on the tail of him, and then they stopped to basically like stop and frisk a black teenager and lost him.
That's insane.
Isn't that nuts?
No, and if
They
that's
were
if
on-
that's not policing in a nutshell.
Yeah, being like,
what
wait,
is?
1 second.
Well, we almost caught the killer, but there was a suspicious looking black teen.
We had to frisk him.
We kind of had to frisk him to make sure he wasn't carrying marijuana.
Exactly. So we let the Zodiac
Okay.
get away.
That's insane.
So that was on the 27th. On the 30th, it's the infamous double murder night.
Oh, God.
So Elizabeth Stride is killed at 1 a.m., throat cut, severing her left artery, but there are no other mutilations.
Okay.
So the theory is that this was interrupted. Like somebody, like
Oh.
he was doing it and then he heard someone coming in and had to leave and couldn't like do his gross shit where he cut her open or whatever.
Okay.
Catherine Eddowes is murdered 45 minutes later.
Okay.
Throat cut, abdomen removed, uterus and left kidney removed. That
Jesus.
kidney's coming back in a big way later. Remember that kidney?
Okay.
And her face is mutilated.
Oh, no.
Now, this is where the syphilis theory comes in, that like he was given syphilis or his son was given syphilis.
Mhm.
Again, there's no proof of this. He's fucking cutting them open left, right, and center. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's why, but because in the past, untreated syphilis would like make your nose rot and shit. So it's being like, oh, I'm cutting off your face because syphilis or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a fucking twisted loser freak. Like,
Yeah, what?
why would it? It's not because of that.
No.
I'm gonna say. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say unilaterally.
It's not because of syphilis.
Yeah.
It's also just, come on. That's such a stretch.
Also, lots of people contract syphilis.
Yeah,
Very sad, but they don't go on a ripping
No.
killing spree. They don't give themselves a twisted little nickname.
Yeah. No,
and
they
do
just
double murder night.
they just invade Poland and start World War II.
Is that the theory that Hitler had syphilis?
Yeah, that's a theory. Well, there's a theory that like every tyrannical leader in like all of history actually had syphilis.
Yeah,
That's like a big standing theory.
I see it.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, what part of your brain has to be rotted for you to ever think that you're the person that's going to start a war?
Yeah. I'm
Couldn't
not
be
like
me.
confirming that Hitler had
no.
syphilis, by the way. It's just like
That's a theory.
the syphilis theory is like everywhere for everything.
So that's September 30th. October 16th, George Lusk receives the From Hell letter. And
Oh,
this
God.
has half a kidney attached.
Oh no.
And it's Catherine Eddowes' kidney.
oh my God.
Well, allegedly. There's no DNA, but the
Yeah,
her
yeah,
kidney
yeah.
was missing, and then there was a kidney in the letter.
Okay.
So again, he's like sending little letters. If you're a doctor, you got shit to attend to, mama. Like, don't
Yeah.
you have a job?
Don't you have a job, babe? Baby girl. Don't you
Yes.
have a job?
Now, November 9th, 1888, Mary Jane Kelly is the final canonical victim.
Okay.
She's found murdered in her room. This is the most gruesome.
Oof. Okay.
I simplified this because it's fucking nasty,
Yeah.
but she's basically skinned.
Oh, Jesus.
Gross.
Ew.
Now,
Damn, rest in peace.
I know. In December 6th, a doctor who was one of the suspects in the case committed suicide. So that's generally the way that it possibly could have been him, and that's why the killings ended. There's also a lot of Freemason conspiracy theories that it was there was one of them had a secret daughter or a secret illegitimate child with a royal, so they had to kill her, that kind of thing, and then it was easier to kill 5 other women or whatever,
to cover it up.
Yeah,
That's
stuff
insane.
like that. Again, I think that people who don't want to understand the brutality of the situation try to ascribe a conspiracy to it, or again blame, when in actuality it feels pretty regular to me that shit like this happens.
Yeah, it makes sense, unfortunately.
Yes.
Rough.
So that's Jack the Ripper.
What's the theory that he was the guy who painted all the ballerinas? Have you heard this?
Monet?
No. I forget his name,
heard
but there's
this
this
one.
guy who there's a Jack the Ripper theory that he was the guy who made the these paintings of ballerinas. Edgar Degas.
Oh, Degas. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a theory that I think came from TikTok.
Great.
Which is that Jack
So
the
it's
Ripper
history?
was Edgar Degas.
The French impressionist.
Yeah. Who painted those really famous pictures of ballerinas.
So ballerinas were very commonly sex workers.
Yeah, they were very commonly sex workers, so he would have known a lot of them. He also would have known a lot about anatomy because he was a painter.
Mm-hmm.
And he famously hated women like most men.
Yes, exactly. This creator also said that most psychopaths and all serial killers have a dead spot in their brain right behind their eyes, which I would love to see proof
I
of.
would love to see that.
But he had a degenerative brain disease as well.
Yeah, that's rough. So
Maybe.
I don't know if that's true, but I remember hearing that
Interesting.
theory and I was like, that's an interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories that he was the king's, the royal surgeon or whatever. And it was either because there was an illegitimate child, or again, because he had gone insane because of syphilis or things of that nature.
Yeah.
We'll literally never know. And I think that it's important to say that, because if you look this up, there's a lot of people being like, we know for sure. And then you look it up and you're like, well, you're guessing, but go off.
That's a
I
guess.
guess.
That's a
Because
guess.
it's the past. You can make really compelling arguments, but there's no DNA.
I know. Wouldn't you just love to know though? This is what drives me crazy about history in general is I wish I could know.
I know.
It makes me crazy.
It makes me feel insane that we still don't know. And we have so much more, we're not lucky necessarily, but there is just so much more closure in horrific events.
Yeah.
I was gonna do, but I decided it wasn't funny. As opposed to this episode, which was laugh out loud.
For sure.
The United Flight 93,
so sad.
92, 94.
Yeah.
So sad. But when you listen to they have released the transcript.
Yeah.
Not the audio, but a written transcript. And it's crazy that in the modern day, we can just get.
Yeah, we just have that forever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Heroes. Anyways.
Heroes.
Blair. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's make this tragedy about us. And what a tragedy.
And can I just say, I kind of hate true crime.
Yes.
In a way. And I cannot believe that people do entire podcasts.
I know.
With respect, entire podcasts talking about stuff like this. I would vomit every day.
I know. We just have to kind of sit quietly and be like, I know. It's not fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we did a more in-depth Jack the Ripper season, it would be better because there'd be more time to really get into the women's lives.
Yes.
And the culture that creates a monster like this, and what was happening at the time, and the people who received the letters and stuff. But because we're speed running and it's just and then she got fucking ripped open.
Murder. Yeah, freaky.
Because I do think that it probably is much more interesting historically than just the crime. But yes, I agree. Reading that, I'm I don't want to fucking talk about this. These are people.
I know, it's so scary.
I know.
Okay, what's your question, girl?
What is if you were a serial killer, your nickname you're giving yourself? The Unabomber, the Zodiac.
Oh, The Blair Witch.
Oh my god!
Bitch, are you kidding?
That's so
It's
good.
right there, the Blair Witch.
That's so good.
Come on.
I love that.
What about you?
I would love. Okay, so this is a nickname for Kevin Durant, the NBA basketball player, but I would give it to myself anyway.
Okay.
And he calls himself the Slim Reaper,
That's good.
and I like that.
That's
Was
good.
I telling you about him earlier because he made a tweet this week that made me laugh.
Yeah.
Where he was basically being like, you guys complain when you lose, it's someone else's fault. But when you win, it's all gloating. There's no respect to the service workers like me. He's a basketball player. And I'm like, all I do now is be like,
I love
there's
that.
just no respect for the service workers
There's
like
no
me.
respect for the service workers like me.
Okay, so this is the Blair Witch and the
amazing.
Slim Reaper
That's
signing
really
off.
good. And this is the Blair Witch.
I also wanted to tell you, I mean, this will be out way after it's out, but did you see a Kendrick Lamar album drop today?
What?
He just surprise dropped an album.
Shut the fuck up.
I know.
Wait, I'm gonna lose my freaking mind.
I know. You guys will know. It will have been out
You guys
by
will
now,
know. You guys will
but
know.
We just found out.
Okay, that's crazy. I feel like I've been like weirdly unplugged because I've been sick. And so like I've been glued to my phone, but absolutely not
In a
taking
weird way.
any information.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're just like sick and you're like on your phone and you're just sort of like, I'm so on the internet, but like nothing's sticking.
Yes, you're just kind of
That's
looking
how
at
I be.
information.
That's how I be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's come out yet, but I was reading it online. Let's see. Yeah, GNX.
Yeah, no, it's right there. GNX. All right.
And he's released The Heart Part 6. Fuck you, Drake. So that's what
Fuck
our
you,
day will be
Drake.
spent doing.
Fuck you, Drake.
Thank you guys so much for listening to day 3.
And we'll be back
Soon.
soon with more icons.
All right, see you then. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.